Welcome to the Self-Love Model. On this podcast, we have open-hearted and honest conversations about all things self-love and the journey of self-discovery. This podcast is for those on an everlasting journey of their own evolution, and most importantly, a safe space for us to heal together. I'm your host, Sid, and welcome to your self-love session. Hello, my beautiful angelic baddies. Welcome back to another episode of the Self-Love Model with your girl, Sid. Today, we are going to dive right into our topic, which is the last pillar of the self-love model, and that is self-discovery. So through this season, I've introduced the 5 pillars of the self-love model with you guys, and we've talked about self-awareness, which is model number 1. Model number 2 is self-compassion. And then we talked about self-trust. And the last episode, we talked about self-acceptance. And now we are on our last model, which is crazy because that means it is officially nearing the end of season 4 for the self-love model. And oh my gosh, what a season it has been. I feel like I've introduced a lot of new things. I've introduced, obviously, the self-love models that we've been talking about. And I brought Amanda on, our resident therapist of the podcast, who does these debriefs with me regarding these big topics and concepts that we talk about. And I've also hosted our very first self-love event. I guess this will be like the second one, the second event for the podcast, but it was the very first time I've done this concept, and it was the self-love experience, move, feel, become. For those of you that came to the event, thank you so much for being a part of such a beautiful experience and for taking the time out of your busy lives to do something for yourself. It was truly such a memorable event. I still have so much that I want to share regarding this event. I have more photos, I have videos, more things that I want to share, but I think I'll save that towards the end of the season, kind of just to wrap things up. And if you guys know me personally, if you've been following along, you know that your girl has been busy. With a capital B. I've been busy working my booty off, and it's definitely been a grinding season, and I am okay with that, such is life. And I feel like each season of lives is going to look a little different, and right now I am working a lot, so I really haven't had time to share those photos and videos, but all in due time, when the time is right, I will be sharing those. And yeah, so this season has been really fun, and I'm really excited to be ending the season. Our last episode, this is the second to last episode, so we will be doing one more episode with Amanda, our resident therapist, to end the season. And then we will take a little bit of a break and come back brand new, and I am so excited because you guys have no idea what is yet to come. But with that being said, let's really just no more rambling, because your girl is the queen of that. We're gonna get right into today's topic, and let's just talk about the last model of the self-love model, self-discovery. And before we get started, I want you guys to just pause for a moment. Whatever you guys are doing, if you're driving, pull to the side. I'm just kidding, don't do that. Don't do that. But whatever you're doing, if you're able to just take a quick pause for this moment. And I want you to put a hand on your chest where your heart is, and to really just pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I living the life that I want? The life that I truly want? And do I feel like me? And what does me feel like? Okay, I'm going to repeat those questions again. Question is, am I truly living the life that I want to be living? And do I feel like me in my everyday lives? or even in this present moment, do I feel like me? And what does me feel like? Okay, now really let that just sink in. Whatever popped up into your head, that should be your answer. Don't overthink it. I feel like it's really easy to overthink these questions, especially I'm speaking for myself, but I usually like whatever comes up first, I always like to honor that. And then if something else comes up, then something else comes up, you know? But there is no right or wrong answer. So let's just get that straight. There is no right or wrong answer. Whatever answer is for you is the answer for you. So as I was prepping for this episode last night, that was immediately like what came to my mind. And I was like, ooh, I feel like that's like a really good way to start the episode off, is by asking those deep questions. And I've got my little notepad. If you guys can see, this is literally my episode notes. I like sat in this chair last night and I just really gave myself the space to think about the episode. And I wrote down some stuff and we're going to be talking about it. And I'm really proud of myself because I didn't like listen to any YouTube videos. I didn't listen to any podcasts. Like this was all straight off the dome. Like I really want my episodes to really just be like all just from me. I think that a lot of times in the past, I have this fear when I'm talking about these topics that I'm going to give like the wrong information. So that's why I like to do my research. But I also feel like sometimes when I do too much research, I feel like it clouds like my own voice, and I want the podcast to be so authentically me and just speaking from my heart and my own experiences. So I'm really proud of myself. Yeah, and I feel like these solo episodes are genuinely so good for me because I feel like it's really teaching me how to speak, and it's teaching me how to form my own thoughts, and I really like that. I feel like I need more of that in my life. So yeah, these solo episodes, I like just to see these as like me practicing to become a really good speaker. So those questions that we started the episode with, if you answer the question no to either of those answers, either am I living the life that I want? Like take a look at what you do on an everyday, daily basis. Does it light you up? Does it make you happy? Are you going in the direction that you want to go in? Or when you visualize the life that you want to be living, are you on the path to getting there? And really like sit with yourself and think about like what your vision for your life is, like what you truly want out of life. I think it's really important to give ourselves the time and space to think about that, because sometimes we like just get so busy with life and we just start working, start moving. It's really easy to go on autopilot mode. So I think it's important to make that space to sit with yourselves from time and time again, to kind of like revisit your vision, making sure that your actions, your daily habits are aligned with the life that you envision for yourself. Because even prepping for this episode, I sat with myself and like answer some questions, some journaling prompts that we're going to get into. And I was like, oh, like it's always so nice. Like when I like sit down and dedicate time and space for that. And now I'm like writing down, and then it just gets me feeling good and excited about life again. So if you answer no to living the life you want, or if you answer no to like not feeling like yourself, maybe you've been feeling a little disconnected. Maybe you've been feeling a little bit lost. Maybe you just haven't felt like yourself. This episode is for you. Okay, I feel like the heart of everything that I talk about is helping me come back to ourselves. Because the journey of becoming is not about becoming someone new, in my opinion. Also, Amanda she said to me yesterday that I say opinion, like opinion, but she says opinion. And I've never had anyone say that to me. So honestly, my whole world is rocked. I'm just kidding. But yeah, in my opinion, I don't even know how I got onto that topic. But yeah, so today we are going to figure out how we can figure out who we are if we have been feeling a little disconnected, a little bit lost. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of take you guys through the process of my journey into self-discovery. Before, you guys know I can never just get right into what it is that we're about to talk about, right? I got to give you the backstory on everything. Because I wrote here in my notes that for those who have spent their entire lives not being themselves, like being who other people want them to be, learning to be who they are can be a really difficult thing. While this can be something that comes really naturally to some people they can't imagine being anything other than themselves. There are those people that you just see and you're like, wow, like I wish I could be like them, because they're so embodied in themselves. They don't care what other people think. You can just tell they are just so fully themselves and living their lives, you know, to where you can feel a little envious of people like that. I definitely find myself, like, especially in the past, when I witness someone being so fully themselves, being so alive and just like being who they are, even if that person, even though if I might not agree with what they do or just how they are, I can still admire that about that person, is that they show up fully themselves. And I find that now the people that are in my lives are very authentically themselves. And I love that. I feel like once you learn to become so authentically yourself, it's really easy to see through the mask of others. It's really just easy to see people who aren't being authentically themselves. At least for me, I watched a video earlier on YouTube about like being an empath and being an awakened empath, and how like that is a superpower. And I kind of forget like that I'm an empath. I feel like when I first started my healing journey, that was like a huge thing that I learned. Like once I learned what an empath was, I felt like so seen and understood. And like growing up, I've always been like the sensitive one. I feel like I always been, because I can feel everything so deeply, that it's made me feel like an outsider in a lot of aspects of my life because of the way I can understand things. And I feel like also before realizing what this was, I didn't know how things were draining me and how to recharge my soul and my battery, because as an empath, we're like a sponge. We just like absorb everything. Like even if we're out, like especially me as a bartender, when I'm bartending, I'm like dealing with so many people, you know, for all the hours I'm there, especially now in the World Cup, like dealing with so many people, and like I can feel energy. I swear, guys, I'm a witch. But like I can feel energy, and it's just like without us even realizing, we're constantly absorbing in all these energy. That's why for me, it's really important for me to step outside, to breathe in some air, to do my deep breaths, and to find ways to regulate myself. Because if I don't, like, I'm contaminated with all these energy that I picked up through the day without even realizing. So for me, it's really important to have practices where I am able to cleanse my energy and like return energy that was not mine to keep, and to just kind of like come back to myself. And I feel like before, when I wasn't aware of that, it was a lot harder for me. And I felt like I would be dysregulated all the time. But now it's like, now that I am aware, which is why self-awareness is the number one model to start this self-love, this healing journey, is to have that self-awareness. Then once you have that awareness, you can actually do something about it. So yeah, I feel like if you answer no to not feeling like yourself or not even knowing who you are, that is okay. That is step one. Like, now you know this, and now we are going to get you on the path to where you can learn who you are. When I first started my healing journey, it really, like, what really kicked it off was ending a significant relationship with my partner. It was a 5-year long relationship, and it was a very codependent relationship. When I came out of it, I quickly realized I had no idea who I was outside of this relationship. I had spent my entire life being who other people wanted me to be. From being a kid, growing up in an Asian household that was also not traditional at all. And if I'm being honest, there's a lot of my childhood memory that I don't even remember. I was actually just having this conversation with Chris the other day. I was like, it kind of like scares me sometimes when I try and think about like my childhood, and I'm like, I feel like I don't remember a lot of it, and I wish I remembered it more. He kind of made it funny though. He was like, maybe because now you like your thoughts, you're thinking in English, but when you were a kid, you always thought in Chinese. So maybe that's why you don't remember it, because your brain is in English mode now. He was like, you need to switch back to Chinese mode so you can like remember that part. And I just thought that was like, I'm like, what a concept. I'm kind of here for it. But it's either that, or maybe like it was just so chaotic that my child brain was like, I can't remember any of this. So yeah, I feel like growing up, I learned that I wanted to be like who my grandma, who my parents, my aunt and uncle wanted me to be. And I even remember like going over to, I just remember being a kid and just having this insatiable need to please the adults in my life. And I wanted them to see me as the good kid, the smart kid. And especially when I like moved to America. And then when I went back to Taiwan for like the first time, or like I would go back to Taiwan like for the summer and spend my summer there. I remember going over to my mom's side of family, and I'm not like very close with them like that since, like I was raised by my grandparents. So I feel like as the older I got, the more distant I became from my mom's side of family. And I remember going over there, spending time with them, and I just like would not say a single thing when I was there. I was so shy. And I remember just thinking like, these people like don't know me at all. And they were like, nothing against my mom's side of family. I love them all, and they've definitely been a part of my journey and have supported me into becoming who I am today. Like, I don't think I would even be here in America if it wasn't for my mom's side of family. So I'm very grateful for them. But if I'm being real, they don't know who I am at all. And, I remember, and that's also on me too. Like, I just remember like going over to my mom's side of family, and I just like would not say anything. And I just wanted them to think of me as this perfect kid who moved to America, got a better future, and she's all educated. She has her life there. Like, I don't know. I was so afraid of showing my personality and showing my flaws. So I just like grew up being a chameleon and just being like, it was just natural for me to be who other people wanted me to be. There was only like a few people in my life that I like really showed who I am, in my family, outside of my friends. So growing up, like my friends were always like, I was always more close to my friends than my family. Just because I think I felt more, like I just felt more safe with my friends versus with my family. I mean, that's an unfortunate thing, but that was the reality of my truth. And yeah, and then when I when I lived in America, growing up in the household that I grew up in, I also started to not really feel safe to be who I was. And, there was a lot of tension in the household I lived in with my caretaker. And I just really I felt like I had to walk on eggshells. And it's like, that's never a good feeling like you're walking on eggshells, right? So I also just got really used to that. And And because of all those little experiences, it led me to form the belief that I am not good enough, because I felt like who Cindy was as at the core as a person was not good enough to be loved. So because of these experiences, it shaped this belief for me. And for a really long time in my life, that's how I moved. That's how I operated. So yeah, if you also feel like you've spent a lot of your life feeling this way, it can be really hard to know who you are and to show up as yourself authentically. The number one advice I would give to you if you are trying to figure out who you are and you're on this journey of self-discovery is to just actually live your life and say yes to everything. Become a yes man. Like, I went through a period of my life when I was freshly single. So I had ended my 5-year relationship. I quickly realized, holy shit, I don't know who I am outside of this relationship. Maybe this breakup wasn't all of his fault. Maybe it has something to do with me. Maybe I am actually a huge part of why the relationship didn't work out. So once I ended things, I moved out. I was really on my own for the very first time. I went and toured an apartment, and it was the only apartment I toured. I was like, yep, this is my apartment. I signed my lease and I started my new life on my own for the very first time in America with no family. And I had just lost my partner, who was essentially my rock and who I was so attached to. So it was through that experience that led me down this path where I quickly realized that I needed to figure out who I was. And that's when I really went on to this phase where anything that came my way, I would say yes to. I was just like in this period where I just felt like there was nothing holding me back, and I just really didn't give a fuck anymore. You know, I was just in that phase of my life where I was like, I just felt like everything that I thought life was, everything that I thought my life was headed, the life that I saw myself building with this person was just completely torn apart, you know? So like, I just got to that point where I just wanted something new. I wanted to start creating a new life for myself. And yeah, which led me to saying yes to competing in a bodybuilding competition and stepping on stage in a bikini and becoming a pro in natural bodybuilding, and then building my confidence throughout that journey. It led me to saying yes to making new friends that felt aligned with the season of my lives. And it led me to other relationships that taught me so much about myself. And it led me to really taking my business seriously and building that. But yeah, I feel like genuinely the first step to figure out who you are is to just live your life and stop letting your fears hold you back from living the life that you truly want to live. I feel like that is the biggest thing for a lot of us, is that we are so afraid of the unknown. And our brain naturally wants to know what is happening. When it comes to the unknown, our brain sees that as a threat. And something that I brought up the other day as I was talking to Amanda was that anxiety and excitement can feel like the same thing in our bodies. A lot of times when we get excited for something, we start to feel those butterflies in our stomach. Our heart starts to race. And that can be the same feelings that we get when we feel anxious about something. So just learning that difference and talking yourself through that, being aware of what is happening in your body, the emotions that are present, and being able to talk to yourself through that. That is called having self-awareness, and then having that self-compassion to be your own best friend and talk yourself through that. But a lot of us, we get so anxious about trying new things and doing things out of our comfort zone that we end up missing out on just living life, because I feel like a part of living life is to be able to experience new things and make new memories, because it is through new experiences that we can learn more about ourselves. Every time I do something new, I learn something new about myself, and I think that's so beautiful. That's why I am always pushing myself out of my comfort zone and trying new things, because each time it's teaching me something new, and it really makes me feel like that is what life is about. Okay, so if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this episode, is to just go out and live your fucking life. And say yes to things. Say yes to things that scares you, things that excite you, that lights you up. And tip number 2 is silence and asking ourselves questions. In tip number 2, I wrote silence and ask ourselves questions, slow down, give ourselves time and space to reflect. I think that silence is so important, whether you are on this healing journey, whether you are on a self-love journey or a self-discovery journey. I think that every single person in this world needs to have more silence in this life. I said what I said, and I said it with my chest. Shout out to Amanda. Because I feel like we live in such a noisy world, that silence is so good for our soul. And I feel like this is also something I've talked about in other episodes, is just giving ourselves the space to be silent, to be with our own thoughts. I feel like it's in the silence that we can come back home to ourselves and kind of cleanse ourselves of all the energies that we've absorbed. It is in silence that we can really take that time to look within and ask ourselves these deep questions and get to know ourselves. And then tip number 3 kind of coincides with the last tip. Tip number 3 is journaling. I've said this time and time again, journaling is so good for us, especially on this journey. This is something I did a lot in the beginning of my own journey, was journaling. I journaled everything. I looked up many different prompts and I answered those prompts. I bought lots of journals, planners, and different things to help me with this journey. And I'm so glad I did, because now I can sit and look at these journal entries from 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 2 years ago, and I get to look at them and see the person I was then and compare it to who I am now. And I get to see the growth within myself and like actually be able to see it, because memory is such a fickle thing. And like I said, like I barely remember my childhood when I was in Taiwan, and I also just feel like I don't have the best memories. So I feel really grateful to have my journal entries, so that way I have actual physical evidence of what I was like in those periods. So I think it's really nice to to be able to reflect on them. And sometimes when you first sit, I feel like it's hard to get past that resistance of just sitting down and writing, but just get past that resistance. Even if you don't know what to write, just start writing. There's some journal entries where I literally will say, I don't know what to write, but I want to sit and write about some things. And then whatever comes up, comes up. And when you're writing too, I think it's also important to kind of remind yourself that as you're writing, to not edit things out and to really just be authentic. Whatever comes up, comes up. These at the end of the day are your own journal entries. So yeah, just let yourself flow, But I think journaling is really important, and I'll attach some journaling prompts for you guys. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. I'll put it in the show notes for you guys, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make an Instagram post with the journal prompts, so you guys can always refer to my Instagram and find it. But if not, I will have it linked in the show notes, so you guys can have that. If you guys do feel like doing some homework after this episode, which you totally should, but let me see. I'll share some of my journaling prompts at the end of this episode for you. But yeah, journaling, it's very, very important into getting to know ourselves. I feel like journaling, like especially if you find different prompts that gets you to ask yourself questions that you normally wouldn't think about, those are all really great. And even like just writing down what your interests are, like writing down what makes Cindy happy, and I write down what makes you happy and what are some things that I don't like, and then write down what you don't like. Write down your passions, your interests, what lights you up, what kind of things you love, what makes you happy. Like just having, like, those seem like silly questions or just like simple questions, but it's like some people don't. But it's like some people really don't know the answers to that. They don't know what makes them happy. They don't know what makes them them. They don't know what makes them unique. So I think it's important to give yourself that time and space to sit down in silence and just start journaling. And then the next tip I have is spending time alone. And really, like, I feel like this all just goes with the last two tips as well. But spending time alone and having solitude, I think it's really important. And I feel like this is like a peak. Like once you can get to this point, I feel like it's such a peak in my journey, was when I finally learned to enjoy my company. I feel like that's when I was like, oh yeah, like this whole self-love healing journey thing, it's working. Like I actually like spending time with myself. I enjoy my own company. I think sometimes I have the best time just being by myself. And I think that speaks volumes on my own relationship with myself. Like I love having like a solo date once a month, you know, where I get to take myself to a food craving that I've had, or I go on a walk by myself, I sit under a tree, I read a book, or I even go to a coffee shop and just like kind of spend time there by myself. It just really depends on what I'm in the mood for. I feel like I haven't been the best about this just because I've been so busy, I've barely had time for myself. But I feel like once things slow down a bit, that's definitely something that I want to bring back. Something I actually thought of last night when I was journaling was having like a me time jar. Like I want to write out different activities that I like to do and put in a jar. And I think that would be fun to do like once a month when I want to have a me day. I can like pick one or two things from this jar and do whatever activity is in the jar. If I like, you know, feel like being a little spontaneous on my me day. So yeah, that could be an idea for you if that's something that you want to implement more. But I am going to challenge you guys to spend more time by yourself and like go on public. I mean, there are some things like I probably like wouldn't want to do by myself, but I'm never say never, right? But I mean, just find activities that you feel like could be a slight challenge and that you've always wanted to do by yourself. Like for example, I don't know if I would ever want to go to a concert by myself. I feel like that's something I would enjoy with someone. And sometimes being in like crowds like that it's always nice to have like one person that I'm there with. But like if I'm going out to eat by myself like that, I'm totally fine with. I will do that any day, like bring a book or even just eating, being on my phone, whatever it is. And the next tip is do things that feel like you and things that make you happy. So again, like once you've journaled what things feel like you and what makes you happy, you can refer to that list and do more of those things. Because when we do more of those things that make us feel like us, naturally we're gonna feel more like ourselves. So I feel like that only makes sense. So like for example, for me, I feel like that would be working out. Like when I'm working out, I feel like me. Like I feel like the badass bitch that I am, okay? So I love me a good workout and I love getting a good pump. So when I am in the gym with seeing my gym friends, when I'm there working out, getting my sweat on, getting my glute pump on, I feel the most like me. Like even just like the act of putting on a cute gym fit, getting ready to go to the gym, whew, like that just does something for me, okay? Like I haven't, guys, like this month has been so busy that I've barely had the time for the gym. I think I've gone to the gym maybe 3 times now, and today is actually the last day of the month. So that is crazy for me. Like I said this at work the other day. I was like, guys, I don't even know who I am anymore. So yesterday I got to go to the gym because I got off work early and I like I just like miss the act of putting on my gym fit, getting ready. Like it was just so nice to be able to do that again. So that's like one activity that really makes me feel like me, is just working out and going to the gym. And I would say like another activity that makes me feel like me is being outside in nature and like being with my animals, like actually just being fully present with Kiwi, like taking her on a walk, petting my pets, like, and just being outside, breathing the fresh air, connecting to my surroundings. That makes me feel like me. Okay, so that was my last tip for our journey of self-discovery and finding ourselves. So to wrap it up, tip number 1 is just to actually live your life and say yes to things. And tip number 2 is having more silence in our lives. And tip number 3 is to journal. And tip number 4 is spending time alone and giving yourself that space to have more solitude in our lives. And then the last tip is doing things that just feel like you and things that make you feel happy. That's pretty much everything when it comes to the journey of self-discovery. I do want to quickly share my reflection. Okay, I do quickly want to share some journaling prompts that I did last night as I was preparing for this episode, and some questions I answered. I have fun doing these. So question number 1 was, what kind of life would make me truly fulfilled? And these questions, like, I definitely had to really sit with it and think on these. But for this, I wrote a well-lived life filled with travels, memories, laughter with the people I love. And okay, so for this question, I wrote a well-lived life filled with travels, memories, laughter with the people I love. I want to travel. I put that like in bold. I want to travel and love what I do every day, building my empire, being a mother, and really guiding another soul through life. I think that after thinking about it, I feel like motherhood is something that I want to experience in this lifetime, and I look forward to when I get to do that. And I think it would feel really fulfilling to have a little child that came out of me, that I get to experience life like through their eyes until I guide them through life. And yeah, I'm like really excited about that. As I was really sitting down and thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I do really like that idea. And then the question number 2 is, what kind of person do I want to become? For this one, I wrote, like, this one I really also had to sit with and think about for a while, because I genuinely like the person that I've become. Like, I see so much growth in myself since I started this journey. So I like absolutely love the shit out of the person that I am now. But obviously that doesn't mean that there's not room for growth and to become even better versions, you know, to keep leveling up. I feel like that's just life, you know. I see life as this game to where we just like each thing, we're we're leveling up each day and each experiences, you know. So for this, I wrote, I want to become a person that's the example of self-love and true unshakable confidence. I want to become so authentically me, and I want to feel comfortable to show and embrace all sides of me. No longer afraid to shine my light with and have a beautiful aura and glow about her. And I feel like these are what I embody now, but like I just want to be so firm in these. And like even like me, like doing my event I just had, like speaking in front of people, I did that entire event with fear by my side. Like I was definitely doing it scared. There's a lot of things I've done it scared, but I think it would be really cool to get to the point in my life where it really just feels natural, and that fear, maybe that'll still be a thing, but I just really hope that it's less present in the future. So I just hope to become a woman that is so confident in who she is, what she's talking about, and to be able to really be a leader in her community. I think that is the person that I want to become. And question number 3, what values do I want to embody? So this one, there was 2 that immediately came to me, and then the last, I guess like I don't have to just have 3. I put joy, joy is really important to me because like that is like my compass with everything I do. Is like I make joy my compass. So I feel like I can't go wrong when joy is my compass, you know? So joy, authenticity, and then I wrote compassion, and expression and full embodiment. Those are the values that I want to embody. Yeah, so those are like 3 questions that I'm going to share with you guys, but obviously there were more that I did, but I think the rest I am going to keep to myself. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. And to really like just quickly summarize everything up, I feel like self-discovery feels like such a good way to end the models of self-love, because I feel like the healing journey and the journey of self-discovery they go hand in hand. I feel like when I first started this journey, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that something needed to change, and I knew what I needed to work on, and I started working on those things. And I realized that I was on a healing journey, and I started doing a lot of shadow work, and I started to sit with myself, and I sat with myself through everything that I've experienced in my life, and I really allowed myself to feel everything deeply and to feel them again and again and to sit with it. And I questioned myself a lot on this journey. And when I started this healing journey, I didn't realize it, but I remember having this really special moment where I was still living in my own apartment at the time. But I remember when I first began this healing journey and like really wanting to change my life, though I was learning something new every day, and it felt like every day I was having a light bulb moment. It was truly so beautiful. Sometimes I wish I could like go back to that era of my life and just like be in that moment again, because I just remember there were so many days where I would like all of a sudden have like a light bulb moment, and I would have these like new realizations. I just feel like I was constantly realizing things. I'm pretty sure Kylie Jenner, like years ago, she said something about like 1 year was like a year of realizations. And that's honestly what it was like for me. I just kept realizing things about myself, about others, the world. And I remember having this special moment where I was taking a bath. And this time in my journey, I was taking like weekly baths. This was like, that's also something that's like really good for empaths, is like being by the water. It really helps like cleanse our energy. So at this time when I was really deep in my healing stage, I was taking baths like once a week. And I remember, and these baths are like not your typical baths, guys. I gotta set the vibes, okay? I would have my lights off. I would have my like aesthetic lights on. I would have candles. I would have music, and I would have my journals, and I would just like be in this bath, like with the lights and music, and I would just like think about things, whatever I was going through, and I would like let myself rip. Like I would I would just cry. Like I remember so many like earth-shattering cries I've had in my bath sessions. And I just remember releasing like all those demons, all that was like within me in these baths. And I remember one day I was in this bath, and I really just had a moment when I realized that this healing, like I just realized how light I felt. I remember feeling really light. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was no longer carrying all the baggages, all these wounds. I felt like for the first time in my life, I felt free. I felt light. Like genuinely, that was the word I used. And I actually want to find my post about it. But I remember making a post because at this time, with all the realizations I was having, I felt so inspired to write. And man, when I look at some of my old posts, I'm like, dude, she was a poet in another lifetime. Maybe not a poet, but like an author, because I don't really like poems like that. But I need to find this post. Let me just like stalk myself on Instagram real fast. But I will find this post for you guys. I'm like looking back, I'm like, I really hope I didn't archive it. That would make me sad. Because it would also make it hard to find. Okay. Oh. Okay. I want to share this post with you guys. I shared this August 3rd in 2021. So we're in 2026 now. So it's been what, like almost 5 years. So I wrote, I was lost for a while. The beginning of this year was a huge pivotal point for me. I decided I no longer wanted to be a victim and that I was going to change my life. So I dove deep into a journey of self-healing. I essentially became my own therapist. I remember spending hours Googling and writing down notes of everything from self-love, doing the shadow work, and how to start healing, etc. I remember writing down all the traits of the person I aspired to be, and now I've realized that person I wanted to be was who I am at the core before I lost sight of who I was. It's truly transformative how much of your life can change when you take the time to look inward. Be completely honest with yourself on what needs to change and put in the work. 7 months later, I feel like a completely different person than who I started this year as. One word to describe how I feel at the point of my life is light. I feel so light because I've let go of all the heavy shit that used to weigh me down, and I am no longer lost. I know who I am and what I stand for. I realize now that all along, my healing journey was always about me coming home to myself, and it is so good to be home. Like, I wrote that. No ChatGPT or nothing. That was all from me. This is me sitting in a bathtub writing out my thoughts. And like I said, this is why it's so important to document your journey and to journal. So I'm glad that I did this. And yeah, I just remember really feeling light. And I just like came to this realization that my healing journey was always about just coming home to who I am at the core before all these beliefs and all these experiences that have shaped me, that have told me not to be this and not to do that, you know? So yeah, that is truly what the healing journey is about. It is about coming home to ourselves. And that is what self-discovery is. It's just discovering yourself, discovering who you were before the world told you who to be. So with that being said, that concludes the last model of the self-love model. Thank you guys for being on this journey with me, and thank you for making it to the end of this episode. I just feel like you guys are my best friends. Even if we haven't met before, we are virtual besties, and I am so excited for all that is to come. And we have one more episode before we wrap this season up. So I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I am. I just feel like this season of the self-love model has been such a pivotal one for me personally. I feel like I'm really starting to figure out what this podcast is and where I see it going. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. And I feel blessed to be able to do this, to have the space to do this for myself, for my younger self, and to hopefully help you guys and people along the way. I think that is just such a cherry on top that I get to do all of this. So thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys have a blessed week. And until next time, remember that you guys are so loved and you are more than enough. Bye guys.